if you live in the Sheffield area and you need a kitchen fitted, make sure you check out JW Interiors. My friend James has been in the industry for many, many years. He is the Vasyl Lomachenko of kitchen fitters, and he's a real good, solid Yorkshireman to boot. So check him out at JW Interiors. I'll leave links in the description below to his Facebook page, to his website, and you can find all the contact details there. So check him out, JW Interiors. Okay, great card happening this weekend in Uncasville, Connecticut in the USA. Headlined by Jermall Charlo against Sergiy Derevyanchenko. And that is for the World WBC middleweight title. I guess the co-feature, if you don't want to call it the undercard, is Jermall Charlo's brother Jermall taking on Jason Rosario. And that is a 154 super welterweight unification. Another great fight. You've also got Daniel Roman taking on Juan Payano. You've got Figueroa taking on Damian Vasquez, and that's another world title fight. You've got Luis Neri taking on Almeida. You've got Casimero taking on Micah. I've never seen Micah, but I have seen Casimero several times. And then finally, you've got, well, this guy whose name I won't try to pronounce, against Manny Woods. So it's a real good card. It's pay-per-view. You've got the Charlo brothers top of the bill. And I'm going to do a separate video for Jermall versus Rosario. In this video, I'm going to concentrate on Jermall versus Derevyanchenko. Now, the Charlo twins are, let's just say, an acquired taste, if I'm going to be diplomatic, as characters. They're an acquired taste. Personally, they're not for me as characters. I don't find them particularly interesting or entertaining outside the ring. But inside the ring, they're very good fighters. But this right here, at least on paper, looks like being the toughest test of Jermall Charlo's career so far. Sergiy Derevyanchenko has been rising through the ranks, and then he really came onto the scene when he fought Danny Jacobs. When was that? Back in 2018. That's when he really came onto the scene. And, you know, he held his own very well in that fight. Lost the split decision. He then went on to lose, and I say lose in inverted commas, to Gennady Golovkin because, of course, most people feel like, or a very large percentage of people at least, feel like he beat Golovkin there. And his stock rose. So even though he's got 2 L's on his record after 15 fights, at least one of those L's was very contentious against Golovkin. And that really did more for him, the Golovkin fight, than any other fight he's had so far. You know, that supposed loss has risen his stock and his reputation in the middleweight division more than any of the other fights he's had or any of the official wins he's had. So, as we all know, Derevyanchenko's style is high energy, high work rate. He's a relatively short middleweight at 5'9", if that's even his real height. A very short reach, according to Box Rec, at 67.5 inches. I mean, that's extremely short. He comes in low. He's got very good head movement. He goes to your body. He was hurting Golovkin with, regularity with body shots. Let's be real. He's technically pretty good. Throws a nice jab, mixes it up upstairs and downstairs. And he can be difficult to pin down because his movement is so frenetic. His not only upper body movement, but his foot movement. It can be difficult to pin the guy down to get real solid headshots, landed on him at times when he's on form. Now, Charlo is a much more, I want to say, textbook and conventional fighter. He doesn't have the frenetic movement of Derevyanchenko. He doesn't move his head as much as Derevyanchenko. He's a much taller guy at 6 foot. So it's a very interesting style matchup to see the taller Charlo, who probably hits harder, I would say, than Derevyanchenko. Derevyanchenko's got decent power. Right? Let's not underestimate his power at all. His power is decent, but I would say Charlo hits harder punch for punch. One of the things about Jermall Charlo, and probably both the Charlo brothers, truth be told, is they tend to like fighting aggressive guys who come to them. When they have to go stalk a fighter who's boxing them, that's when they tend to struggle. So will Derevyanchenko's style actually play into Charlo's hands? Now, if we look at Charlo's record here, okay, he fought Dennis Hogan, stopped him in 7 in his last fight. Dennis Hogan's quite short as well, isn't he? Yeah, Dennis Hogan's 5'8". So that's a relatively short fighter as well. But nowhere near the level, I would say, of Derevyanchenko. Okay, Matt Korobov was a very tough fight for Charlo. Many people feel like he actually lost the Matt Korobov fight. But again, Matt Korobov is nothing like Derevyanchenko. Matt Korobov is a southpaw and a slick boxer. And by the way, the judge who had it, 119-108 for Charlo, good grief. I mean, how can you sleep at night when you're giving scorecards like that in such a close competitive fight? I mean, that's really shocking. Anyway, fought Highland, Julian Williams. So he does have some decent wins on his record over the years, Jermall Charlo. And for the longest time, he was seen as the more talented of the two brothers and the bigger puncher of the two. And obviously now he's campaigning at 160 with his brother, still trying to hold the fort at 154. So yeah, really intriguing style matchup. I mean, I'm going to have to sit on the fence for this fight because I just can't seem to envision how it's going to go down. If I was absolutely forced to pick between Charlo and Derevyanchenko, I might pick Charlo, but I'm anticipating a very, very tough fight for Jermall Charlo. I'm anticipating a tough fight for both men. The one thing I will say is I think that Charlo probably takes a better shot than Derevyanchenko. He might be physically stronger. You know, Derevyanchenko hasn't got a glass jaw or anything like that, but he has been down a few times against good punches in Gennady Golovkin and Danny Jacobs. And, you know, Charlo, does he hit as hard as those two guys, Golovkin and Jacobs? Remains to be seen. If anybody hits the canvas in this fight from a headshot, I have to imagine it's going to be Derevyanchenko. I don't think it'll be Charlo. But Derevyanchenko's movement, I could see that throwing Charlo off. I could see Charlo maybe struggling with Derevyanchenko buzzing around like a wasp, you know, stinging him here and there and going upstairs and downstairs and maybe mugging him a little bit. So I don't know. It's a really fascinating fight. And, you know, one thing I will say as well is that the politics of this fight favors Charlo. He's the star. It's him and his brother as a doubleheader pay-per-view. And because of those politics, yeah, if I was going to bet on it, I would go with Charlo to win. I'm not sure would I pick him on points. I think that's probably more likely than Charlo by knockout, given how experienced Derevyanchenko was in the amateurs and the fighters he's been in with against as a pro. I'd probably say Charlo on points, if you were a betting man, would be the most likely outcome, I want to say. Because if Charlo is getting favoritism like he got in the Korobov fight, whereby 116, 112 twice and then 119, 108, when many neutral observers felt like he lost, if he's getting that kind of treatment, then surely there's a good chance he's going to get the same type of treatment against Derevyanchenko in terms of favoritism from the officials. So will he win a legit, will he score a legit victory over Derevyanchenko? That I'm not sure of. But again, I'm thinking out loud here and on the fly. Yeah, if I was a betting man, I'll go with Charlo on points. But, it might be Derevyanchenko who deserves the win rather than Charlo. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. How do you think it's going to go? Maybe you have a much more clear perception or view of how you think the fight is going to go. Because in terms of who really deserves to win, I'm not sure who's going to take it. But in terms of the judges and all that, I think probably Charlo. So let me know what you guys think. It's happening out. Subscribe to G-Man Boxing. Great channel. So head on over there and click that red button. G-Man Boxing on YouTube.